Alright, time for the dreaded structured text programming. Now you get to sit here and stare at me writing out text on the screen. It's so much more intriguing whenever I'm drawing pictures, but it's okay, we're going to get through this. So, first of all, we've got this set up, and I actually don't like the names that I'm using, so I'm going to change that to level in, and I'm going to change this to level. And yes, so let me go ahead and redefine those in my variable selector. Level in, that's going to be real. And then my level as well is going to be real. And do I have something just handy I can click on? I've got L real, there we go, there's real. Perfect. So now we've got our signal coming in, and we've already got that scaled for us. That's perfect. Now we need to figure out when to set an alarm, and that's going to take an if statement. So I'm going to skip a line just to keep it neat, and let's go ahead and type out if, and we're going to look at level and see if it's less than 10.0. And if it is, then we're going to take some action. And I'm just going to keep that if capitalized as well, because it looks like it wants to see all those keywords capitalized. So then we're going to come down here and end if, semicolon. And that's not a dash, that's an underscore. Perfect. So now we've got the structure of our if-then laid out. And what do we want to do if level is less than 10? Well, at that point we want to set a timer. So we're going to have an LL underscore delay timer. And now that I've typed out LL underscore delay, I can go into my variable selector. And my type, I'm just going to type in TON for timer on. And there we go. Now I've got my timer. Let's go ahead and instantiate it. So I'm going to left parenthesis, and I need a bool coming in, and then I need a time for my preset. Well, as far as a bool coming in, I'm actually inside of an if statement, and that is my condition. I don't want to have to create a bool that's going to energize this timer. I'd rather just run it from the if statement. So as far as my bool coming in, I'm just going to write true and then hit comma, and then I need my time. So this is going to be a 5-second timer, and we already know how to write time, so that's going to be T#5S, and then I can close parenthesis and semicolon out. So check that out. Instead of using a Boolean variable somewhere that's going to be open and closed and energized somewhere, I just wrote true. So this is always going to be true as long as my level is less than 10. And otherwise, I don't have anything that I need to really reset or manage with that. It's all just right here in this line. So structured text in CCW is actually kind of cool. Now I'm going to copy that because I like it so much, and I'm going to come down here and say if my level is greater than 90, then I want to go ahead and run my HH delay timer. And I haven't created that yet, so let's go ahead and go to the variable selector, type TON, and hit OK. Whoa, just like that, I'm already done with both of my timers. Setting up that second one was fast. So now, once I've got my timer that times out, what do I want to do? Well, I want to create a trigger. I want to one-shot something, and then I want to go ahead and set my both alarm and notification bits for that thing. So how do we do a one-shot in here? Well, we don't have anything, if you remember, from our ladder that's called a one-shot. In here, those are called pulses. And we've got rising edge pulses and we've got falling edge pulses. So I'm going to come up to View Help, and I'm just going to search for pulse. So let's see what we come up with here. we've got pulse falling edge, pulse rising edge contact. That is basically what we want to do, because we want to look at the timer and we just want to see it for the first scan when it first starts. So when I click into that, check this out down here. That's what's telling us what we can actually do in structured text to accomplish what the pulse rising edge contact does. And when we see here, it's looking at input 1 and just the first scan of input 2 to energize output 1 for just one scan. So we can ignore everything but what pertains to input 2, and that's this right here. And it says input 2 is energized and not input 2 prev. Well, that's talking about, it says right here, the value of input 2 on the previous cycle. Well, what it's saying basically is, I'm sorry, but we didn't really include any kind of mechanism for a one-shot in the structured text environment for CCW. So that being the case, that means we have to do something hinky to do the same effect. So let's see what we can do. We're going to say if, and then we know we want to look at our low delay. So LL underscore delay. And then we can dot, and we know we want Q, because that's what it's called in CCW when the timer times out. So if LL delay dot Q, that means this thing is timed out, then what do we want to do? So I'll go ahead and fill out the then. I'll space down here, and I will close out our if statement with an end if. So what do we actually want to happen here? Well, we want to energize 2 bits, and what those are going to be are our alarm and our notification. So let's go ahead and set those up. That's going to be LL underscore NOT, and that's going to be colon equals 1 because we're setting the value to true. And we'll do the same thing for LL underscore ALM, colon equals 1, semicolon, and then we just need to create those 2 values. So we'll go into our variable selector, and that's already set up as a bool, and we will do the same thing for the alarm, also a bool. Good. So now we're going to be setting both of these, but we don't want to keep setting them all of the time. So what we're going to do then is we're going to say if LLDelay.Q and not, and here we're going to say if the alarm is already set, then obviously this has already happened. So we're going to say and not LL underscore ALM. So now whenever we first have an alarm condition, we're going to come down here and say, well, the timer is expired and we don't have an alarm, so I'm going to go ahead and set both of these to 1. When it comes around on the next scan, it's going to say, well, my timer is still timed down, but, well, we do have an alarm condition, so I don't need to do this, and it's going to skip on by. So that is how we're going to basically work around an inadequate environment that doesn't have a one-shot, which is pretty basic common stuff that should always be in here, right? So let's go ahead and set this up, and not an HH alarm. We're going to set HH notification equal to 1, and we're going to set HH alarm equals to 1. Let's go ahead and create all of these. So that's a bool, and this is also going to be a bool. The reason that I'm referencing the alarm up here in the if statement and not the notification is maybe somebody has disabled the notification using the alarm silence button, and in that case we want to just look at the alarm. So for that reason, I don't recommend you look at the notification up here, because if you do, it's going to be impossible to silence. Alright, so now we've got our alarm notification and our alarms set. What do we do now? Now we need to figure out a way to get rid of them. So that's going to be using the alarm reset and alarm silence. So if alarm underscore silence. Then let's go ahead and close out our end with an end if. And what do we want to do if we get an alarm silence? Well, on that, we want to go ahead and set both of our notifications equal to 0, simply. So ll underscore not colon equals 0, semicolon. And then the same thing for our hi underscore notification. We'll set that equal to 0. So, great. Just like that, we've got our alarm silence already fixed. And we can come down here and copy that and have one more, and that's going to be our alarm reset. And what do we want to do with an alarm reset? Well, the first thing we know we want to do is we want to leave both of these in here because we definitely want a reset to kill both of our notifications no matter what. But then how do we want to treat the alarms? Do we want to just get rid of those alarms all the time? Or do we only want to get rid of the alarms when the conditions are gone? And I say if the condition still exists, we don't want to break the alarm. But what we might do is reset the alarm and maybe the timer as well, so that if the condition still exists, it'll come back. So let's try that. We will go ahead and set both of our alarms equal to 0 first of all. So I'm going to copy these, paste them, and then I'm just going to rewrite both of those variables. So that's going to be ll alarm and hh alarm. But then I also want to manage those timers. So let's start with the low, and we're going to say ll delay dot, and I want to set the elapsed time. So the ET, and I'm going to set that equal to a time value of t pound 0 ms. So at that point, that timer is effectively reset, and 5 seconds later, if that alarm condition still exists, well then we're going to have another alarm. And let's go ahead and do the same thing for the HH delay. So there we go. I think we've got a good solid working program. We start off by scaling our level in and turning that into level. Then we check the level and compare it against seeing whether it's below 10 or above 90. And we energize timers, the LL delay or the high delay respectively. And those are both 5-second timers. Then if we get either the HH or the LL delay Q, which means that the timer completes, then we're going to set both the notification and alarm bits for the respective alarm. If somebody hits the alarm silence button, then we're going to come over here and we're going to get rid of just our notifications. If somebody hits the alarm reset, we're going to kill both of our notifications and the alarms, but we're going to reset the timers so that if the condition still exists and if there's still a problem, then 5 seconds later that alarm should still resurface. So I think that's a complete program. Let's go ahead and build and see if we have any errors or if I forgot to set anything. And it says :equal must precede a bool. And it also says alarm silence is undeclared. So that's all right. We know how to fix that. What we have to do is set them equal to true. Not a problem. So let's just copy that to true. And for all of these that we are trying to make true, let's go ahead and just paste in true. That's just one of the differences of this environment. And, like I said, that's one of those things that when you go from one environment to another, you're going to have these little tweaks that you have to do. But once you know how to program in one, you're going to know how to program in all of them. So the rest of these, what's 1 is now true, and what we were setting equal to 0, we're now setting equal to false. So let's go ahead and try that build one more time, and I'm betting we're out of the woods now. Oh, we still didn't declare our alarm reset either. So let's go ahead and select that, Variable selector alarm reset is going to be a bool. Good. Device, build, and come on, third time's the charm. Now how did we just get more errors? So it's saying ET is an undeclared identifier. Well, lldelay.et, and it looks like it will not let us write to the elapsed time value, so we can't reset that. That means we're going to have to delete both of those and figure out another way to accomplish what we wanted to do. First thing, let's go ahead and build and make sure that that got rid of all of our errors. And yes, we came out clean, so that was the only thing that we had. Let's go back in here, and we need to manage the timers differently up here. So when do we really need our timers? We need our timers to determine whether to set an alarm. But if we're already in an alarm, then it doesn't really make sense to run the timers. So let's go ahead and put an and not up here, and then let's look at the low alarm. So as long as we don't have a low alarm, then we'll run the timer. But once we energize that alarm, then we're going to effectively reset the timer. And let's do the same thing on the high. We'll say and not, and that's going to be HH_ALM. So we had to work around a few different issues and incompatibilities between 5000 and CCW, but in the end, I think we've got a working program. Let's go ahead and build it and make sure we don't have any errors. And yep, I'm seeing 0 errors there. So, bit of a learning curve getting through there, but you can see it. Once you know how to do one, you know how to do them all. Maybe a couple of tweaks, maybe a little bit of headache when you realize that something as basic as a one-shot isn't in this environment, but you know, that's okay. We were still able to get through it. So, hope you made it through as well, and maybe yours is a little bit more elegant of a solution than mine, but that's okay. As long as they all compile at this stage, we're good, and we'll actually find out whether we know how to write something that works in the next section. So that is going to be it for CCW. You got in, you got your feet wet, you've hopefully gotten a little bit comfortable with it, and now we're going to be going into an automation builder, and we're going to be spending some time in there. We're going to be programming space shuttles. We're going to be learning some new paradigms. We're really going to be stepping up our programming game in the next section. So you're going to go in a mouse, and you're going to come out of the next section a lion. So that's what you signed up for, right? And with that, I'll let you go, and I'll see you in the next. Cheers.